The film opens with an elderly driver transporting a boxcar loaded with 3 mysterious time capsules. His mission is to deliver this cryptic cargo to the Beijing airport for shipment to Hong Kong. However, disaster strikes mid-journey when a stray piece of plastic, discarded by the driver himself, becomes lodged in the engine. The mechanical failure causes the driver to lose control, sending the boxcar careening off a bridge. It plunges below and crashes directly into the home of an old man named Grandpa Fang, completely destroying it. Though shell-shocked by the sudden destruction of his house, Grandpa Fang miraculously survives, having been standing on his terrace at the moment of impact. In the chaos of the crash, the cargo is thrown from the vehicle, and one of the time capsules suddenly hisses open. As the capsule unseals, a man clad in black armor with a terrifying expression emerges. This is Heiying, a powerful warlord who once served as the emperor's personal bodyguard during the Ming Dynasty. Frozen for approximately 400 years, Heiying has reawakened in a modern world where human civilization has changed beyond recognition. Watching from the shadows, Grandpa Fang hides behind a car in terror, convinced that this strange, armored figure is a dangerous criminal. Despite his 4-century slumber, Heiying retains the extraordinary physical strength and formidable martial arts skills that made him a legend in the Ming era. However, his long hibernation in the Sub-Zero capsule has left him with one modern-day struggle. The extreme cold has forced him to find relief and urinate frequently. The tension escalates when a police officer assigned to guard the shipment arrives under the bridge to secure the capsules. Upon realizing that Heiying has escaped his chamber, the officer quickly retreats to report the breach to his superiors. Suspicious of the officer's presence, Heiying attempts to give chase, but the patrol car is too fast, and he soon loses track of it. Later that night, Heiying begins to explore his new surroundings by hitching a ride on top of a bus heading toward the Hong Kong border. As he gazes at the glowing city skyline, he is struck with awe and astonishment, struggling to reconcile the neon-lit world before him with the ancient empire he once called home. After Heiying arrives in Hong Kong, he realizes that he has arrived in the future, and someone sent him to the future using a time capsule he found in the truck. Then he remembered that he had an heirloom shaped like a male genitalia named Linga, which could help him return to the past. Heiying received Linga's heirloom from a monk in India in 1621. And the old monk said that Linga was the key to activating a time machine called the Golden Wheel of Time. A golden time wheel is a time machine created by someone from India and can only be used 3 times. It is known that the Golden Wheel of Time has been used by an Indian time traveler twice, leaving only one last chance for someone to time travel before the time machine is destroyed. Because of that, Heiying must guard the Linga heirloom very carefully and need to find the time machine so he can return to the past. But now, he still doesn't have any clues or information to find the time machine. After hibernating for hundreds of years, Heiying started to feel very hungry. So he went to a noodle restaurant and ate a big bowl of noodles. When many restaurant customers waited in line at that place, he was surprised by someone wearing a horse head mask, so he hit the person because he thought that person was a monster. A drunken beauty named Xiao Mai approached Heiying after she saw him beat 2 men until they fainted. But instead of confronting Heiying, Xiao Mai called him a royal bodyguard, making him happy. Then Heiying decided to follow Xiao Mai, who at that time was having a drinking party with her female friends at a table. In the middle of the party, Heiying overhears a man saying that the Ming Dynasty's era has fallen, and those words make him very sad. Elsewhere, a young man wearing the same armor as Heiying came up to a thug eating food in an alley. The man, Xiao Wu, had also risen from the time capsule, and he was Heiying's best friend who led the royal troops in the Ming Dynasty era. Xiao Wu, who felt hungry, ate the food and drinks offered by the thugs with great gusto. But while he was eating his food greedily, several police officers suddenly came up to him and spilled the food that he was eating. Xiao Wu felt very angry and beat the policeman until all the policemen fell. However, one of the police officers who could still get up suddenly pointed a gun at Xiao Wu and intended to kill him. Luckily, Xiao Wu's best friend Nihu came on time and saved him from the bullet shot. Nihu was a warlord in the era of the Ming Dynasty who was close friends with Xiao Wu and Heiying, and at this time he had also resurrected from the time capsule that had fallen into Grandpa Fang's house. After Nihu disarmed the gun from the police officer, he decided to keep the gun because he was interested in weapons that he had never seen in the era of the Ming Dynasty. Nihu told Xiao Wu that he would use a cool weapon to kill Heiying, who had betrayed them. It turned out that, although previously they had been close friends with Haiying, at this time they still held grudges because they thought Haiying had betrayed and conspired with a group of robbers from Japan. The scene switches to Xiao Mai's house, where she accidentally sees Haiying walking back and forth above her apartment, so she thinks Haiying is a thief. Xiao Mai, who panicked, ran to her friend's room and told them about the mysterious man in her apartment. At the same time, her male friend, Slender, came to her place to deliver some food to her. Suddenly, Haiying recognized Slender's face and thought that Slender was a thief from Japan, so he beat Slender with several punches. It turned out that Slender was also the same man who had previously said that the imperial era of the Ming Dynasty had ended on the night of the party attended by Haiying. Apparently, Slender had a face very similar to the evil man Haiying had met in the Ming Dynasty era, where the man was someone who had accused him of being a traitor who conspired with a Japanese thief. Due to the baseless accusations made by that evil man, Xiao Wu and Nihu misunderstood and thought Haiying had betrayed them. As a result, the royal court decided to arrest Haiying and remove all the honorable attributes of war from his body as a sign that his royal bodyguard status had been revoked. As punishment for his betrayal, the royal executioners would execute his entire family. Hearing this, Haiying, who was initially resigned to the arrest by the royal soldiers, rebelled and fought because he did not want his family to be executed. Then he broke the wooden shackles holding his hands and said he did not want to let innocent people be treated unfairly. Shortly after, Haiying beat the soldiers one by one who surrounded him at that time and fled from that place to save his family. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu and Nihu, who still thought Haiying was a traitor, chased him until they arrived at the top of a cliff. But in the middle of the chase, a sudden blizzard threw the three of them down a ravine and buried them all under a pile of snow. Returns to Xiao Mai's house, where Haiying apologizes to Slender for misunderstanding him and hits him, causing his face to be injured. Afterward, Haiying said goodbye to Xiao Mai and Slender because she did not allow him to stay at her house. As Haiying was walking downtown, he decided to change into a suit he found in a car so his appearance wouldn't stand out too much. On the other hand, a police commissioner named Chang is meeting with his client, Mr. Tang, a businessman who hires security services from Chang. Chang and Mr. Tang discussed the boxcar that had an accident and resulted in the damaged time capsule they were about to send to someone. They learned that the three warlords from the Ming Dynasty that they had frozen in the time capsule had managed to rise and escape from the capsule. Suddenly, Chang scolded Mr. Tang for hiring an incompetent driver and letting him roam around and talk to many people. He said he didn't want many people to know the secret about the time capsule and the three warlords, so he forced Mr. Tang to kill the driver. In the evening, when Xiao Mai was going to a nightclub, three security officers suddenly approached her and harassed her. Fortunately, Haiying, who happened to be there, beat up the three perverts and struck the nerves of the three men until they couldn't move. Then, a woman who was her boss came and scolded Xiao Mai because her friend had attacked her subordinates. But Xiao Mai denied it and said that Haiying was not her friend. However, her boss didn't care about that and asked her to pay a big compensation. Xiao Mai, who didn't have that kind of money, started to get confused and didn't know what to do to pay the compensation. Fortunately, Haiying kept the gold coins he got from the Ming Dynasty to help Xiao Mai compensate. Afterward, she took him to a gold shop to sell the gold coins so they could earn a lot of money. The plan was that part of the money from selling gold coins owned by Haiying would be handed over by Xiao Mai to her boss, while the rest of the money would be kept by Haiying. When Haiying was about to leave the gold shopkeeper said that the necklace he had a very high selling value. However, Haiying chose to keep the necklace because he already had enough money to survive. Because of getting help from Haiying, Xiao Mai began to realize that he was a good man, so she decided to allow him to stay at her house. On the other hand, Xiao Wu joined forces with a group of thugs they had previously rescued from being chased by the police. Xiao Wu then draws a sketch of Haiying's face on a piece of paper and enlists the help of his fellow thugs to help locate Haiying. Back to Haiying, who was asking for help from Xiao Mai and Slender to find information about the state of Tuluan village on the internet. It turned out that the village was where Haiying and his family lived during the Ming Dynasty, and he wanted to find out if his family had really been executed by the royal court. However, after Haiying and the others searched various sources on the internet, they still couldn't get any information identifying Haiying's family and instead found false information about his betrayal in the past. The fake news made Haiying feel very disappointed to the point that it made him very angry, and he threw his royal medal and cut his hair. The next day, Heiying accompanied Xiao Mai to a nursing home to visit her mother, who was paralyzed and unable to speak. However, when Heiying saw Xiao Mai's mother's health condition, he realized that a nerve in her body was being pinched. Then Heiying suppressed some of the nerves in Xiao Mai's mother's body, so that the paralysis she suffered recovered, and she could speak again. Seeing her mother, who had recovered from paralysis and could talk again, Xiao Mai was very happy and thanked Heiying. That night, Heiying performed a strange ritual and made a vow that he would return to the Ming Dynasty era to save his family from the massacre. Then, he promised that if he failed to keep his promise to save his family, he would be willing to die with millions of wounds and not get a proper burial. After saying a vow, he approached Xiao Mai and told her that he would start investigating the next day. Elsewhere, in an international trade center company building, Chang invites Grandpa Fang to eat lunch. Chang's goal in meeting him is to give him a bribe so that he does not divulge all the events he witnessed on the night of the accident the other day. Soon after, Chang asks Grandpa Fang to tell him if one day Grandpa Fang sees the 3 warlords who have escaped from the time capsule. Grandpa Fang happily accepted the money, considering he had no other place to live. The next day, Heiying and Xiao Mai did a meditation together, and in that meditation, Heiying again remembered the words of a monk who had told fortunes about his life. The old monk said Heiying would have a second life, and in that second life, he would have a longer life than his previous life. Then the monk gave Heiying a natural seed and told him it would become a hint for him if it grew successfully. After getting the vision, Heiying planted one of the natural seeds in Xiao Mai's house and told her about her life prediction. On the other hand, Chang and his men went to a police criminal investigation center. He ordered his men to identify the faces of 3 Ming Dynasty warlords roaming the city center. Chang wants to know their whereabouts so he can catch them and return them to the time capsule. Afterward, Chang went to see a Chinese history expert named Professor Wang to find out more information about the time capsule. Then he revealed that during the Ramayana era in India, someone had succeeded in creating a time machine device called the Golden Wheel of Time. However, the time machine can only be activated with a special key called Linga's heritage, created directly by the god Shiva. At the same time, when Heiying was going to Grandpa Fang's house, a surveillance camera identified his face, and the police managed to locate his whereabouts. When Heiying arrived at Grandpa Fang's house to ask something, Grandpa Fang instead locked him and reported to the police. Soon after, many armed troops gathered around Grandpa Fang's house and surrounded Heiying in that place. Fortunately, he managed to escape from the house after he blew up Grandpa Fang's bathroom toilet and made all the officers crushed by human feces. Seeing Heiying, who managed to escape from tens of armed police troops, Chang felt very angry and disappointed in his troops. When Heiying arrived at Xiao Mai's house, he found Xiao Mai crying alone in her room because her mother in the nursing home had died. The next day, he accompanied her to scatter her mother's ashes on the beach so her soul could rest peacefully. Then, Heiying threw his necklace into the sea with the ashes from Xiao Mai's mother's body to fulfill the promise he made the other day. He once promised to bury her body with the jade necklace. After the procession of scattering the ashes, Heiying tried to comfort Xiao Mai so that she could feel better. Then he promised Xiao Mai that he would help her find her happiness. The next day, Heiying went to see Mr. Tang to get more information about the time capsule and time machine. However, the surveillance cameras again identified Heiying, and the police force was dispatched to arrest him. When Mr. Tang saw Heiying, who suddenly appeared at his company, he panicked and ran away. However, Heiying still doesn't give up and has found a way to trick the surveillance camera's identification system by changing his face with acupuncture needles. Then, Heiying wore a police uniform so the police would not recognize him when he entered Mr. Tang's hideout headquarters in a hotel. When Heiying arrived at the destination hotel, he accidentally ran into Grandpa Fang, who had just received prize money from Chang for helping find his whereabouts. Heiying, who knew about Grandpa Fang's cunning, secretly stole the money and donated the money to a charity foundation. After that, Heiying entered a room where Mr. Tang was hiding and interrogated him about the time capsule he was about to send to Hong Kong. However, because Mr. Tang did not give any answer, Heiying broke his legs and hands as punishment for the grand theft that he had committed in China. Unfortunately, the surveillance cameras had managed to identify Heiying's face, which changed back to his real face, and the police were dispatched to the location to arrest him. But again, Heiying managed to escape from the police by jumping out of the window and falling to the ground floor so that Chang could not catch him. Chang, who was very annoyed, scolded Mr. Tang, who was hiding in the cupboard. Then, that night, Xiao Wu went to a nightclub where Xiao Mai often came to find Haiying by showing him a sketch of the face he had drawn before. When Xiao Mai's friend saw the face sketch, they felt familiar with it and said that the man in the sketch looked very much like Xiao Mai's lover. But Xiao Mai, who did not know anything about the facial sketch, denied it and said she did not know him. Unfortunately, not long after that, Haiying suddenly called Xiao Mai's cell phone, and Xiao Wu realized that the person calling her was Haiying. Knowing that, Xiao Wu intended to beat Xiao Mai so that she would be willing to tell Haiying's whereabouts. Fortunately, just before Xiao Wu's kick landed on Xiao Mai's face, Haiying, who had arrived at the scene, stopped his attack and protected Xiao Mai. After that, there was a short fight between Xiao Wu and Haiying at the nightclub, causing the demonstrators to panic. But fortunately, he managed to beat Xiao Wu and rushed Xiao Mai away with him. As they were trying to escape from the place, Nihu suddenly appeared from another direction and fired a bullet at Haiying, causing him to faint. Fortunately, just before Nihu approached them, Xiao Mai managed to wake Haiying up and they jumped out the window to escape from the building. However, Haiying fell unconscious again after they jumped off the building, so Xiao Mai had to face Nihu alone. Then she took a motorbike parked at the end of the road and hit Nihu until he fainted. Soon after, Xiao Mai took Haiying to the hospital so that he could get medical treatment. But the doctor who treated Haiying was confused by his blood structure, which was very different from ordinary humans. Nihu, who was also rushed to the same hospital, showed a strange blood structure like Haiying. After the police learned that Haiying and Nihu were currently in the hospital, they rushed to the hospital to arrest them. Meanwhile, when Xiao Mai notices Xiao Wu's arrival at the hospital, she tries to get Haiying out of the hospital before Xiao Wu finds him. Fortunately, when the police officers arrived at the hospital, they thought Haiying was just an immigrant, so they instead decided to arrest Nihu, who was still unconscious. However, when the police officers were planning to take Nihu to the police station, Xiao Wu beat the police officers one by one and rescued him from that place. When Haiying regained consciousness, he realized that someone had taken his Linga's heirloom, and he was sure that the police officers had taken the heirloom while he was still unconscious. Then he asked Xiao Mai to help him chase after the police using a motorbike. On the other hand, Xiao Wu and Nihu, who saw the incident, rushed after Haiying using a car. When Chang's men realized that Haiying was chasing them, they tried to block him by creating a traffic jam on the flyover. Fortunately, Haiying still didn't run out of ideas to chase after the police car. Then he rode a horse in a truck and chased the car until finally Haiying caught up with the car and pulled the police officer out of his car. Unfortunately, Xiao Wu and Nihu had also arrived at the location, and they had prepared to attack Haiying using the weapons they had obtained from the car they had stolen. Soon after, the fierce fights between the three warlords could not be avoided, and Haiying had to face two people at once. In the middle of their fight, Chang suddenly came by using a helicopter and shot Haiying's body with an anesthetic sniper. But miraculously, the bullets didn't work on him, and Haiying quickly threw it at Nihu's neck until he fainted. After Nihu passed out, Haiying realized that a car was about to hit Nihu's body, so he rushed to save him. However, after he managed to save Nihu, a series of collisions occurred again, and a large car suddenly hit his body, causing Haiying to fall into the river. Xiao Wu, who knew Haiying had saved Nihu, began to realize that Haiying was not a traitor, so he jumped into the river to save Haiying. At night, the police started to search the river to find Haiying and Xiao Wu's bodies, but still failed to find them. A few days later, Chang came to Stanley's prison to release Nihu, because it turned out that Chang was Yuan Long, who had been Nihu's senior during the Ming Dynasty, and was his oldest friend. At that time, Yuan Long thought that Haiying had conspired with the Japanese, resulting in his wife being killed, and since then he has held grudges against Haiying. Although Haiying denied the accusations and said he was not a traitor, Yuan Long still did not believe him. The next day, Xiao Mai was still waiting for Haiying to arrive by the river and hoped that he could return with her. 3 months later, it was finally revealed that Haiying was still alive, and at this time, he had made peace with the other 3 royal commanders. The warlords finally found the time machine they had been looking for and could return to the past when the Ming Dynasty was still victorious. The film ends. So, what did you think of the movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.